Hello, welcome to my channel. Thank you so much for joining me. I'd like to share with you how I made this cabochon with beads that go all the way around it. To make this pendant, I'm using two different gauge wires. So I've got a 20 gauge wire, which is a 0.08, and I'm using a 26 gauge wire for the wrapping, which is a 0.04. And then I've got some AB seed beads, which have got these nice iridescent colours to them. And then I've got my cabochon I'm using is a snow quartz or a milky quartz. So now what you want to do is you want to measure, taking a spare piece of string or cord, and just measure around the size of your cabochon to get the length of the wire that you need to cut. The cabochon that I'm using is 3 centimeters long by 2.5 centimeters wide. So now what I'm going to do is I'm just going to trace around it to get the size of it. Just tracing around it like that will give you your size. Now that's the size of your one piece of wire that you're going to be making. And then you need to make two that are just a little bit smaller. So just taking it in by a fraction, you need to just draw around so that you can get another piece of wire that is going to go around. So one will go on the top and one will go on the bottom. So you just need to measure it so it's just a little bit smaller. Just like that. So I've measured the one, and so I've got one which is the smaller size, and as you can see it fits just inside the cabochon, not going over the edges, just a little bit on the inside of that. And now I'm just going to make another one like that, and one that is as big as the size of the cabochon that we're going to be using. So as you can see, I've got the second one, which is the small one, and I've just crossed the wires over. Now when you get to the top here, you just have to make it so that it goes and follows the shape of your cabochon. So I'm going to just cross those over a wee bit now and try and get an oval shape. So now we've got it like that. Now as you can see, the wires are all crossing over like that. So what we're going to do is we're going to take a pair of pliers, and as you can see, where it crosses the stone here, what I'm going to do is I'm going to put my pliers on that position, take it off the stone, and then I'm going to bend it away from the stone holding it in place. So it gives us a 90-degree angle like that, which will make our stone go out. Doing the same on the other one, checking the distance, putting the pliers where I want it to bend, and then holding them and moving it away from the stone. So now the wires are going upright for our bail. So I've got two of those, and now I just need to do the large one. So I've got the one going around the cabochon on the outside, and the same principle, we're just going to bend those two 90 degrees to the stone. So that's the wire wrapped around the cabochon. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to take some of my seed beads and I'm going to thread them all the way around on that particular piece of wire. And just keep going until your wire is full. So as you can see, I've put the beads on and I've left just a tiny gap so that when we put the wire through, it's going to spread the beads out a wee bit more. So just leave a little bit of a gap on the one side, because we're going to be starting to wire them all in, and obviously the wire takes a little bit of a gap, and then if we're short of beads, then we can just add some afterwards. So I'm going to be working directly off the spool. So now what we're going to do is we're going to attach the two together. We're going to wire them together. So starting off at the top and just leave a little bit of a tail so that you've got something to hold on to. And then all we're going to do is we're going to wrap it around. Now, because we haven't joined them at the top here, we can take the wire through the top so that it goes round and then through the top again, and we just keep going around and a few times. I've gone around 3 times, so it's attached on there, like that. Now what we're going to do is we're going to attach the beaded section to this, placing that on top in the same position. What we're going to do is we're going to go and we're going to join those ones together. So going around through the gap. So now we've got that first one attached. So now what you want to do is every time you go around, just incorporate one of the beads so that you can, so it's attached to the inside wire as well. So going around and through the middle, and then we're going to catch one of the beads like that. So the beads are all nicely now in place, and just continue all the way around until you've got all the beads attached. So I've gone all the way around now, and now the next thing we're going to do is we're going to add our next little loop on top of that and do the exact same thing by just attaching that onto there. So at the moment, this is what the cabochon is looking like. It's sitting rather beautifully on there, and now we just have to put the top one on to encase that in so that it holds in place. So the next thing we're going to do is we're going to attach the next piece of wire to the bail section with the working wire that we've been working with. So just holding it in place, and I'm just going to go weave it, starting with the one closest to me. Just weave that around and tighten that, and then going on to the next one, the same thing. Go around the next one and tighten that, and then go around the 2 of them again. So we've got those 2 tightened in place. Now we're going to go across to the next one. So now this one is going to secure them so that they close. So going around the first one and tightening in that and putting that in place, and around that one again and pushing that all the way down, and then the final one that we're going to be putting it around is the end one over here. So just going around that one, pushing it down, around again and pushing that down. So it's all secured, closed now. So now we can start on the next row going around. So now I'm going to have to cut my wire because I'm not going to be able to use it on the reel because we've closed it all up now. Plus we've got to start, I'm going to be just doing the first few of them, but then you have to put the cabochon in and start working with it in the setting. Now we're going to put the cabochon in to our setting, and we're going to do exactly the same that we did before by going around each bead along this top wire. making sure your wires don't get and then through the next one as well. So just keep rotating and going round and round all the beads so that you're attaching this third ring to the beaded section. So once again, you can take it out for the start of this until we get to about quarter way down, and then we've got to put it back in. So now that we've gone all the way around with the beads attaching all the things, it's now time to sort out the top wires here. So we've still got the weaving wire, which we're going to be using to make the bail. So looking at the wires, we want to make a decoration just at the top here, and then we want to put some nice swirls on the back as well. So we're going to sort these wires out so we can see which ones we're actually going to want to use. So now we've got quite a few wires here, so going from the back, we're going to separate the wires slightly so we can see what wire goes where. So these are the back wires, so we're going to bring the back wires down towards the back, and then we're going to find the front wires, and we're going to bring, that's the front wire, that's the middle one, and right, so we've got all our wires sorted out. So we've got 2 to the front and we've got 2 to the back, and now we're going to work on the bail. So now for myself personally, I like a graduated bail, so I'm going to just separate these just a little bit like that, and then I'm going to be doing a weave through this. Now we've got that tiny little tail that we have left from when we first started this one, so we're just going to put that aside for the time being so we can start this weave. So I'm going to go round the one side twice and push it all the way down, and then go across to the other side and then go around that one twice as well, pushing it down and then coming back up through the middle over the top, and then going around and pushing it all the way down. And around twice, pushing it down. Try and keep your wraps as close as what you can get them, and then we're going to go through the base and over the top on the other side. So we're doing a figure of 8, so just keep it nice and tight. And if you need to, use your pliers to just get the little things, the little wires just a little bit tighter. Go ahead and do that. So now what we're going to do is we're going to go up about 1.5 centimeters doing that particular weave. So now that we've gone down our 1.5 centimeters, what I'm going to do is I'm going to take my pliers just at the tips and I'm going to bend them slightly like that, so that they're now starting to make the same shape backwards. So where they cross over here, you want to get just the same distance, which is 1.5 centimeters. So just going to the back to the 1.5 centimeters like that. Just straighten out the wires so that they're running parallel to each other, and continue weaving. Now remember, wire has a tendency of going to a narrow part, so you really got to hold tightly onto these wires once you're weaving them. So now that I've reached the same length, what I'm going to do is I'm going to take a mandrel or a skewer. I'm just using a skewer, and then I'm just placing it a little bit below the bend, and then just bending it backwards. So the bale looks like that. So we've got it lying quite flat at the back. Now all we have to do is just finish that off. So now what I'm going to do is I'm just going to push the bale slightly forward so that it lies, when your pendant is held on the chain, it lies quite nice and flat. Now what we're going to do is we're going to take the weaving wire and we're going to finish off the bale by securing it. So now taking your wire and wrapping it around the leg that you've just come off, brought down, just secure that in place, and then find a little spot that you can go through the pendant or the cabochon. Find a little place where you can thread it through so you can attach, because it's very tight, a little bit hard to get through in some places, but you persevere and you'll get there. So just threading it through a place that you can get through. It's a little bit hard to get that out, so I'm just going to take a little pliers and just pull the wire through, and then just attach it at least 3 times onto the main frame. So moving it and then just pulling it through. So we've got the one side quite nicely secured because we've got it through twice now. Now I'm just going to go back through again to the other side. Pulling it nice and tight. And now going to the other side. So now these are the legs that just came off from the bale. So what we want to do is we want to go around around the leg so that it secures it quite nicely. So just lifting it, going around, pulling it up as tight as we can go to the top, and then once again securing this side down on the opposite side. And now the bale goes on quite nice and secure. So we're finished with our weaving wire. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to cut it and then try and squeeze it right underneath the bale so it's out of the way and it's not going to hurt or cut anybody. So moving some of the wires out the way and then just trimming this wire like that and then just squeezing it underneath the back so it's right inside the bale. And now for the back, I'm going to try and squeeze it underneath here so that I can get it nice and secure on the back. A very tight squeeze though, so not sure whether it's going to go through. Oh, there we go. And then I'm just going to pull that one up and then rotate it back so that we've got one piece in place. And try and get the other side through. And then they're all tucked away nicely, no hard edges. To finish off the front here, I want to make a little rose. So now to make a little rose, we're taking the 2 front pieces that we had, that would be left, and all we're going to do is wrap them around, and the one piece that's standing upright, and then take the other piece and then wrap it around that piece, and then fold the next piece down while lifting this one up and then going under that one, and just keep going until you run out of wire pretty much. Just keep it going under the next, and then put it down and keep going like that. So now I've gone as far as I'd like to go because I don't want it to go too much over the stone or the bail. So now I'm going to just trim them off, and then we're going to tuck those under as well. So once again, trimming it as close as we can, probably 2 millimeters, so that we can roll it over the top of it. So we've got that one done, and now what we're going to do is just take the wire and just roll it over so that it tucks in underneath, just underneath the rose at the top like that. And now we're going to do the same with this one. So move that one out of the way, and then we've got, I just cut this one down, and then squeeze that underneath. So that's the front of it done so far. Now we've got 2 more wires to work with. Now you can either trim those off and then just squash them into the bail, or you can make little swirls on the side. So I'm actually going to make the swirls, and to do that I'm going to just trim them down a wee bit, and I'm going to take my round nose pliers and I'm going to buckle those ones up just a little bit like that to try and get them so that I can get them about the same length. So just cutting those ones off. So they're about 2.5 centimeters long. So the wires that we've got left on this side, what I'm going to do is I'm going to rotate them and spiral them so that they come down onto the back. So now taking the pliers, your round nose pliers, and putting them so that you can't feel the wire at the top at all, and then just rotate your wire, and you can't go any further. Move it back, rotate it a bit more, and then you've got a really nice circle like that to start your spiral with. Then just take a pair of pliers and then coming in at about 5 o'clock, just start rotating, and there's our one spiral in place. And just do the same on the other side. And there's the cabochon completed, with the beads going around and a little rose at the top, and the back is finished off nicely like that, and the cabochon is not going anywhere. If you found this video helpful or you enjoyed it, please give it a thumbs up. Really appreciate it if you would subscribe. Thank you so much for watching.